is also something I'm very interested in, the immaterial and the material, the inside to the outside. Also, this idea of something that's very much seeing light as we know it, but not as we see it, very often with the eyes open. We have a full vision with the eyes closed in the dream with sometimes greater lucidity and greater resolution than with the eyes open. And this light is not unfamiliar to us, it's just that we don't very often see it that way with our eyes open. So I'm interested to, in some way, remind us that we do have this other seeing, the seeing with the eyes closed, that with the inside, and letting inside to outside, even taking pieces that require some dark adaptation. This requires maybe a minute or two before you begin to see, but in Los Angeles there are ones that require more than that. Light is not like clay. You don't form it with the hands. You can't carve it away like wood or chip it away like stone, even assemble it through welding. It's almost like making the instrument first. As you see here, this is quite an instrument, and then I determined to play it, to have it perform or do something. At the crater, I do that with the known motions of all the planets and sun and moon, and so I know right where they will be so they can perform the piece. But here I've actually done that in a different way because of how we've been able to deal with very controllable LED lights and the control by virtue of computers. So I'm glad to have seen that in my lifetime. But the simple things of just seeing in Iltar, realizing to see the walls of the space which are there and seeable, you actually find yourself looking through something occupying that space, this quality of light, this sort of fog of something being there. I began to realize I was beginning to make spaces that would apprehend light for our perception. There is actually the possibility that in Cambridge, one scientist actually did stop light, actually put it in a medium that actually held it so that it didn't continue at maybe 6,000 miles an hour. And this idea that you can actually do that was something important to me. I was doing it more in making us aware, or making us being able to perceive light that generally we see as passing through. So this idea that light was no longer something that illuminated other things, but was something itself that we would see in that manner, was important to me. In this catalog that will be coming out soon, you'll also have an essay by Arthur Zeons, who does talk about the fact that light knows when we're looking. This idea that actually light has a different behavior when we're looking at it. We use light so long to illuminate other things that the thingness of light, something that seems very simple, is something we haven't really paid attention to. So the light itself as a revelation was something I enjoyed. But remember, the history of art is littered with artists that have depicted light. I mean, if you think of Turner and Constable, Vermeer, Caspar David Friedrich, all of the Impressionists, Rothko, don't forget Ed Reinhardt, who had a very sort of strict approach to the sublime, of light coming out of darkness, which I've always admired. There has been artists that have been dealing with the depiction of light. That's River School too. And this depiction of light is something that I always was fascinated by, except I just wanted it to be light itself, that it'd be light. It's sort of a simple American idea. And so that's what I pursued. Also, I wanted to mix light by taking light that's quite old, in starlight. If you take the light that comes from our solar system, you get light from the sun. It's 8.5 minutes old. That's sort of a Beaujolais new light. It's possible to look away from the light that comes from the ecliptic or from our solar system, and even look away from the light that comes from the galaxy that we're in, the Milky Way, and out into and gather light from numerous stars that are quite some distance away. Now they're all going to be slightly red-shifted because they're moving away from us. But it's possible to gather enough light so that you can see under dark adaptation from stars that are quite distant, so that you can make a space like Iltar where you are confronting light that's older than our solar system. So this is sort of the Meritage blended wine that's older than the 8.5 minute Beaujolais of our sunlight. But this idea to think of light that way and to love it that way is something that I've really enjoyed pursuing. Some people have asked me, what's my favorite color? I would answer you, you can look at them up there, and it's sort of like asking someone what's their favorite musical note. You need them all, and it takes all to make the white light. I also want to say that I think that we're made for twilight. When we go outside in the noonday sun, we squint, the pupils are almost completely closed, we put on sunglasses, so we weren't made for this light. We were made for the light of the cave, or perhaps the light of twilight. And so that's the light I enjoy most working in, and that's where you see color in its most richest form. Because what happens is when you reduce light, the pupil opens, and when the pupil opens, feeling comes out of the eye as touch. And when we really can then touch light and feel it that way is when I think that we're closest to it.